أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My name is Shahana, and I'm your student counselor at IOU, and I would like to warmly welcome you all for today's lecture, and I apologize for starting in a bit late. Today, we're going to talk about dealing with low motivation and procrastination. And my agenda for today is to help you equip with certain skills and strategies and tips on how to overcome low motivation and procrastination. Given the fact that we are towards the end of this semester, and at this point, it gets challenging for a lot of students to continue with their studies whilst balancing their other responsibilities, whether it's family obligations, professional obligations. So, inshallah, let's discuss a few tips and techniques on how to go about this. Before I begin, I would like you all to participate in a short exercise. I want you all to sit down comfortably wherever you are. I want you all to sit back and relax. Take a deep breath. You can close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, I want you to imagine that you're undertaking a journey on a boat. You're sailing towards your dream destination. It's a nice, peaceful day with a little breeze flowing gently. You hear the sound of calm water flowing smoothly. As the sun is setting, the sky is painted with rich hues of different colors. You're enjoying the moment and you're feeling refreshed, you're feeling relaxed, you're feeling peaceful and calm. And you're excited because you're coming close to your destination soon. The boat is about to land at a beautiful place that you've always wanting to visit, and you're just a short distance away from reaching it. But now, as you're sailing and your boat is coming closer and closer, the sun starts setting and starts getting darker. It has become very quiet, and the tides are now stronger, and the water in which your boat was flowing smoothly is now making you push and roll and make your boat rock harder and harder. As you're trying to save your boat, it becomes difficult for you to keep moving at this point. You're fearful, you're anxious, you're confused, you're doubtful whether you'll make it or not, whether you reach your destination at all. You can see your destination, it's very close, but you're scared of moving and moving forward and sinking. I would like you, brothers and sisters, at this point to open your eyes and ask yourself, how are you going to deal with this situation? Are you going to let yourself sink with the boat in the deep, cold waters? Or are you going to rise up against those strong tides, take proactive steps, swim through to your dream destination as you're very, very close? So, this analogy, brothers and sisters, is an example of your journey at IAU. The boat represents your studies, and the water represents your life, which is filled with hardships, obstacles, challenges, adventures. And the dream destination represents your goal, your mission, your vision, your future, and whatever that is you've imagined. So, just like a journey on a boat, our journey at IU is going to be filled with ups and downs. There will be delays, There'll be days when everything will be nice and peaceful and productive, and you can complete all your modules on time. However, there are going to be days where you begin to struggle, and every module is going to feel like a difficult decision. So, what would you choose? I will leave you here for a moment to think about for yourself. So, yes, brothers and sisters, for those of us who choose to persist, who chose to go on, yes, persistence is the key to achieving our dreams. And I would like to encourage, and I would like you to envision how you will feel once you achieve the degree, the information that you were always seeking all this while you enrolled in this course. So I hope and pray that inshallah you choose to swim through this journey. And with that in mind, I would also like to remind you of this beautiful ayah from the Quran. And Allah will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient. Allah will surely test us. Uh, our lives are going to be burdened. Our lives are going to feel overwhelming. Yet, when we choose to persist in seeking the information that is going to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bring us higher in the ranks towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we see the results. Then we see barakah being granted to us. Then we see our lives heading towards the pleasure of Allah. So, my brothers and sisters, life is going to be tested, and we're going to find obstacles, and we're going to have our own share of challenges, whether it's through our health, through our wealth, whether losing someone we love, whether it's our time, whether it's financial struggles, we'll be tested. But what matters is that we don't give up on these tests. We don't give up on these hardships. Rather, we rise above them better and better and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a stronger version of ourselves is bound to arise from it. Um, so with this analogy, I would like to discuss tonight how to deal with low motivation and procrastination so that we may reach our ultimate destination, inshallah. So, the first thing I would like to suggest to all of you when it comes to dealing with feelings of low motivation or procrastination is start by looking for triggers. Look out for what is causing you to feel demotivated, or what's causing you to feel lethargic or passive or unproductive. Is it because you've been going through a lot of emotional stress? Is it because you're going through some conflicts at home or at your work? Or are you facing some difficulty in terms of understanding the course content? Are you facing any technical issues? So for example, you may be struggling with a stable internet connection, which makes you demotivated. Um, are you struggling with the lack of support system? An unsupportive environment can have a detrimental effect on our motivation level for studying. It could be that you're having no time to balance all of these or any of these, or any of the commitments you have upon yourself. So, figuring out for ourselves our own triggers, our own demotivating factors, whatever for us is making the task look super challenging and making us realize or making us feel that our efforts won't be worth it. So it's important, it's imperative we identify our own trigger. Having then done, having done that, we need to see that mm, technical difficulties or personal problems, whatever it is, after we have identified our own triggers, our next important thing to be carried forward is our intention, to be conscious of what we intend. So remind yourself of your intention, of why you started this course in the very first place. What made you opt for this program? What made you opt for choosing this particular degree or program or certification for yourself? Why did you sign up in the first instance? Being conscious of that intention and reminding ourselves of why we intended to join and reflecting on our own journey so far helps us regain our motivation. At this point, I would also like you to renew your intention. So, whatever your intention was so far, this is the point where you can just revise your intention. Okay, this is why I started, and this is why I'm going ahead. These are the new elements that I've found within this program that is helping me in such and such way, and I would like to go ahead with this program because it's helping me achieve this and that. So renewing our intention. Um, a few helpful questions that can help us figure this out are, how am I going to benefit from this? Am I doing this for the sake of Allah? Am I doing this to become a better Muslim? Am I doing this to earn halal income? What is it that I'm doing? And who is it for I'm doing this for? So a clear intention is essential, and reminding ourselves of our initial intention and clarifying for ourselves our real intention um, help us increase our motivations back again. We need to renew it, to keep purifying it, because as human beings, it's very easy for us to keep forgetting. And once we have renewed our intention, we keep reminding ourselves that this is the reason why we are doing this. This is going to provide the fuel that we need to continue this for the rest of the journey. On a very practical note, what you could do is maybe take a 2 minutes of your time before you begin your module for the day and just think about your intention, embrace it intentionally, correct the niyyah, that I'm acquiring this knowledge for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for His face only. And you will see, inshallah, that Allah will bless you with so much barakah, uh, so much energy that you were not imagining, you were not hoping for. It's not explainable. And that barakah will help you get a lot of things done more easily in a shorter time, with more presence, with more energy, with less hassles and less effort. So, this is the baraka effect. Being intentional, being mindful of our intentions is a source of adding baraka to our lives. Next, after you have renewed your intention, it's time to make a firm commitment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Change, brothers and sisters, does not happen overnight. It's impossible to overcome feelings of low motivation or overcoming procrastination in just about a night, or just by watching a video or a tutorial, or here right now on YouTube this for this session. Um, Change requires consistent efforts, and motivating ourselves is a change that we're seeking. So once we make our commitments back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once we make our promises that, oh Allah, I wish to gain knowledge in your path for your sake, so I can be a better abd, a better servant in your path. Oh Allah, help me in this. This is my commitment to you for my life. This resolve generates a lot of energy within us. It helps us persevere in difficult times. It helps us stick with our resolve. Seeking Allah's help, making lots of du'as, and keeping up with what we've planned, even in the face of when we're not wanting to continue with it, even in the face of we think if it's a load, a big mountain of effort that will be required. Just showing up daily, and even when we're sure that we won't be able to make it, we won't be able to pass it, or we won't be able to acquire what we're really needing, the grades we might be needing, still showing up is actually having tawakkul on resources that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, instead of only the resources we have in terms of our time and our energy and our material things. We're having the faith that even if I cover a short distance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make the rest of the journey easy for me. He's going to provide the rest of the energy, the time, the barakah, the strength that I need. So instead of relying on our own resources, we have tawakkul in Allah's resources that are there when we are in His path. So we give our best, inshallah, as the Prophet ﷺ said in this beautiful hadith, that a weak believer, uh, this hadith is from Sahih Muslim, and it says that the strong believer is better and more lovable to Allah than a weak believer. And there's good in everyone, but cherish what gives you benefit and seek help from Allah, and do not lose heart. And if anything in the form of trouble comes to you, don't say, if I had not done it, it would not have happened. But say, Allah did what He had ordained to do, because your if opens the gate for the shaitan. So the doubts that we have in our mind, the doubts that are stopping us from continuing, are all the gates and all the efforts of the shaitan, which we will choose not to indulge in, so that we may continue on this path, inshallah. So we must remember that the effort counts, and it's the effort that gives us the strength, and keeping doing what we're doing, seeking the help of Allah, is more beneficial than focusing on the results we might be achieving, or the quizzes results that we might be um, using to demotivate us, or the deadlines that we may have missed, or how far behind we have become due to XYZ reasons in our lives. Uh, Instead, we choose effort. Either we are 20% there, 40% there, or 80% there. Now, we've talked about intentions and we've talked about committing and making a promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And next is a little practical. So what helps is spicing a little things around your routine, around your studying. A lot of students, they struggle to study and they struggle with procrastination or feelings of low motivation because they're bored. And it's a monotonous study routine that they have developed for themselves. So a lot of students, they get bored studying online. And of course, it's not at all easy because having some routine, that same time, that same desk, and that same course, studying the same thing over and over again, can it can obviously make us feel lethargic. So it's very important that we keep changing and spicing things up in our routine. Um, Now, this is the balance that we need to strike between the change and the monotony. So if we're not regular and we are spicing, let's say, too many things at the same time, we we changing the time very often, we're changing our places very often. So now that is too exciting. It might take away our focus from our study again, and it will stop us from forming a habit around it. But again, too monotonous, or using the same journal to write the notes, or using the same stationery, using the same spot can also make it boring. So we need a sweet spot, a balance between enough of change and enough of regularity that it helps us form a habit around it. So perhaps you can change your study table. You can change how your study room looks, maybe. You can experiment with different productivity tools that can help you stay motivated. You can also try studying at a different time. You can start studying for example, if you start studying at 6 in the morning after Fajr, you can try going out for a walk then and maybe return and then start studying after a 30-minute walk. You can experiment with your stationery items. You can experiment with your formats. It's audio or video or transcribing or the notes that you're using alongside the video, the methodology using. So, changing things and experimenting with things can definitely add a sense of energy, a sense of freshness to your routine, which may be becoming stale at this point as half of the semester has passed. So, next, and a very important point, once you've tried changing your routine and maybe changing how you study, how you're making your notes, another important thing at this point is staying calm. So, a lot of students, they experience procrastination or low motivation because of the stress that they might be going through in their personal lives or in their professional lives. Because, like we discussed in the beginning of the session, a lot of us are juggling with a lot of responsibilities. Many of us are students wearing multiple hats. For example, you have students who are full-time mothers at home, full-time employees elsewhere, and there are students who are also studying as a full-time student at a local university on ground. So, of course, all of these are obligations and responsibilities, and it gets a little taxing, not only on our mind, our health, our body. So, we need to make sure that we're making use of some stress management strategies and we're making an effort to keeping ourselves healthy and emotionally fit. A few technical techniques that I would like to suggest would be try box breathing. So, box breathing is an interesting technique and works great when you're feeling stressed or when you're feeling anxious. So, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, or when you're feeling confused, you can stop your module, you can get up from your chair, go up to a different room, and take in deep breaths. So, you can try inhaling for maybe 4 seconds and exhaling for 6 seconds. So, inhale must be shorter than your exhale, and you keep doing these breathing exercises until you feel better. So, maybe like 6 or 7 of such deep breaths. So more of oxygen can be provided to your brain. You're more alert and you become more focused, and you feel better. So, adding in maybe to your stress management toolkit is something that could be helpful in your situation. Now, the next thing is taking regular breaks. Now, a lot of students, they like to study in one go. Maybe they like to study in one stretch. So, some of the students, they like to study the entire module or a couple of modules without taking a break. Now, if that works for you well and it's not draining you, it's not demotivating you, it's not adding that pressure for yourself, and creates that hesitancy for every time you're coming up to your desk, then that may be something that could be working for you. However, if you are feeling a loss of energy and a lack of inclination to continue with the learnings, you may try to chunk up your lessons in such a manner that you have a short load. So, for example, you can split your module into two parts. Let's say your module is about an hour long. You can split your module into two parts, like 30 minutes each. So, after the first half, you take a 5-minute break, maybe stretch, practice some deep breathing, grab some date coffee, some water, or go for a short walk around the house, or mm, grab a snack. And then you can continue the last 30 minutes of your module, so that the last 30 minutes is also in a better focused state. Now, another tool to help you stay calm is having a positive mindset. Now, I cannot emphasize how important this positive mindset is for us, brothers and sisters, because a lot of times what happens is uh, that since we are in the path of Allah, while we're studying, while we're gaining this information from Islamic lens, we are the at the stake of waswasas from shaitan. And those waswasas, when they strike our mind, they may make us perceive something to be very difficult when it really isn't. They may make us imagine that we won't be able to complete it when we actually can. They may make us feel less confident and less capable of completing, of acing, or even going ahead with the information. They may make us feel doubtful that you don't remember whatever you've studied so far, so what's the point of going further, anyways? You will never be able to complete it, anyways. So, all these doubts that may be striking our mind um, create an environment where our mind perceives that this activity is futile, is fruitless, and it may make our attitude such that since this activity is futile, is pointless, so engaging in it is going to waste our time. So better just not to engage it at all. Here, we require a mindset shift. We need to notice what thoughts are coming to my head when I'm looking up or starting this particular subject or this particular module? What thoughts, what conclusions is my mind drawing? What beliefs is it drawing around it? Oh, this is really hard. I'm not grasping anything. I won't be able to do it. So replace those thoughts with more empowering, more positive, more beneficial thoughts. And that could be a conscious process. So instead of thinking, uh, I will I will never be able to pass this course, we can say, I can do this course, inshallah. I will I will do well, and I will try to pass this course if Allah wills. It will become easier when I start it, and once I start to understand it. So, challenging my own negative thoughts and shifting them to more positive ones automatically helps decrease our motivation, helps us decrease our lack of motivation for doing that course. So, the course, we start with a fresh mind and with a positive attitude. And we don't start it with a negative attitude because it really then becomes very difficult and hard upon ourselves to force ourselves through it. Now, lastly, another tool that I would like to leave you with is the days, brothers and sisters, where when you can complete your assigned modules for the day, um, and you're done for the task that you thought for yourself for the day, and your to-do list is complete, and you're on top of your day for that time. However, there are going to be days when you can't complete your assigned tasks, your assigned modules, because you may be struggling with some health issues, or you may have commitment at work, or you may have uh, responsibilities of issues at home. So I would recommend you to set aside something called a minimal viable day, an MVD. A minimum viable day is days when you're feeling mentally or emotionally and physically exhausted. Perhaps you need a break. Perhaps you can't afford to take a break. So let's say there's a minimum amount that you've set for yourself, that on days that are low, on days that I'm feeling low, on days that are super occupied, this is the minimum amount I'm still going to force myself to go through it. It could be just going through a reading activity. It could be just a part A of a module. It could be just speed listening through or a part, half of the video. It could be just audio listening while you're traveling to and fro from work. It could be just the minimum amount that you need to stay nearly on track with your schedule. So this is the minimum viable day. And if you are logging that in for that day, inshallah, hopefully, you're not going to feel very demotivated in case you're having a hectic time. So on a minimum viable day, your priority should just be checking in, getting the things done that are essential from your to-do list. Now, that being said, not every day should be a minimum viable day. You should choose to keep these days when you're feeling emotionally, physically, mentally drained, and you're not choosing that option every other day. Let's move ahead. Dear brothers and sisters, an important thing that I would like you to really listen into is paying attention to our own bodies. So once again, feelings of low motivation and procrastination, they also have a relationship not only with our study environment, but there's a lot of research and there's a lot of literature that supports that people who study at cluttered spaces and cluttered desks get distracted very easily. So our environments add to the the energy that we might be feeling, that we might be coming with to our studies. So studying at the right space at the right time, and maybe ensuring maybe your desk is nicely organized, you have no clutter, you have a nice and clean smelling room, the temperature is well adjusted, the seating arranged excuse me, the seating arrangement is suitable for yourself, and the lighting is suitable, and the time for yourself is appropriate. So if you feel you're most productive at a certain time of the day, so you're utilizing that time, you're experiencing, you're experimenting and finding for yourself that this is the time that I accomplished the most in the shortest time span. So unfortunately, a lot of students, because they're juggling with multiple responsibilities, it gets very difficult for them to find the right time. So maybe the most productive time of your day is when you're at work. And after after a very long day at work, naturally, when you end up studying at night or late in the night, it's very hard to pay attention, and you've already exhausted your reserves, and it's hard to stay focused. So you can't even concentrate in such a case. Uh, if you're full-time mother, employee, full-time student. So what's going to help is noticing, realizing, and not repeating again and again for ourselves. Instead, we're choosing for a relaxed and a quiet and a minimum distraction time when you can be more productive. So, time maybe when everybody's sleeping, before Fajr or after Fajr, and it's not nice and quiet in the house, and maybe none of your family members are awake or they're busy, and you also feel fresh and relaxed. So 30-minute window at such a time is way better than 2 hours of studying after work, after the house, after the environment, after the situation has subsided in the house, and it works. It turns out to be much more beneficial. So, listening to our bodies and tuning into the time that works the best for us, and being flexible and adaptable, and listening to the yes and the no's. Um, Despite that, we might have taken all the necessary precautions, we followed every single productivity advice out there. Uh, Despite all of this, we still may notice that life still happens, and there will be days, there will be setbacks and hardships and emergencies at home. And of course, when we have emergencies, there's nothing that we can absolutely do. There might be days where you might not be even be able to go ahead with your minimal viable daily set schedule. So just accepting that it's your journey, and accepting for ourselves where we are in our journey, and that we're open for change, we're adaptable, and whatever our situation is bringing for us, we're just showing up as the best versions of ourselves, because we're going to achieve only as much as only Allah is going to allow us for in our lives. We may have a dream destination, we may have a dream degree or a program that we're wanting to reach, but we're going to only have what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to allow us for us in our lives. He's going to give us, inshallah, the ajr for the niyyah we have. However, the result in his hand. So we become adaptable to that, and we keep setting a buffer time for everything. So we have a buffer time or a buffer day or two before the exams. Um, so in case we haven't been having enough time to complete the modules in time, before our final exams come, we are able to complete those in the buffer time, inshallah. Just as a basic advice, you requested or you're advised to complete all your modules at least 4 days before the exams, so that in case you have an emergency or any commitment, you can look into those without compromising on your study. The Prophet ﷺ said that the example of a believer is that of a fresh, tender plant. From whatever direction the wind comes, it bends it. But when the wind becomes quiet, it becomes straight again. Similarly, a believer is afflicted with calamities upon calamities and difficulties. However, those difficulties may bend him, but they never break him. However, a wicked person is like a pine tree which keeps hard and straight till Allah cuts it when He wishes. So this is a beautiful hadith narrated in Sahih Bukhari, where the Prophet of Allah is actually giving an example of how a believer is. So a believer in this hadith is flexible and open to change and adapts to circumstances. Wherever he is in life, whatever life throws at us, is open to accept and be flexible, so that inshallah his journey becomes much, much easier. So next is relax and unwind. A lot of students struggle with demotivation and procrastination because they don't make enough time for relaxing and staying calm. So when you're not really studying, and on days or times when you're not really studying, moments you're able to find for yourself, it's very important to seek fun and pleasure, because you do deserve a break and you do deserve some relaxation and you do deserve to enjoy and indulge in some self-care, books you love to read, friends you need to hang out with, going for a walk, having a hobby, things a hobby maybe you've forgotten about. It could be speaking, public speaking, it could be gardening or whatever, just reviving those forgotten hobbies. Because a lot of times when we don't make enough time for ourselves and we're back to back, packed in a schedule with work upon work and responsibilities, it becomes really difficult to unwind and relax and to re-energize, um, and help ourselves come back with a fuller plate or a fuller mind to be present with the information that we've got to learn. Um, so we also have advice from Sahaba that, may Allah be pleased with them, they used to say that I will relax myself with something entertaining to help me continue upon the truth. Uh, so the Sahaba even considered that to continue with themselves on Allah's path, it was important to do something that is entertaining so that they may stick with the truthful path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can continue seeking knowledge, teaching, and whatever is involved However, we deserve a break. We deserve some rest. Our body has some rights on us. We need to fulfill those, and we need to fulfill our needs in such a balanced manner that neither are we overindulging and overflowing with entertainment, so much so that it's time for the exams and we are cramming in information. Nor we're spending hours and hours in work and study, so much so that we're not allowing ourselves, our bodies to relax and unwind. So there needs to be a balance, a tawazun, a mizan in these activities. So lastly, once you've tried all these suggestions, if you still feel that, okay, this is not working out for me, I'm not able to overcome my feelings of low motivation or procrastination, uh, then the university is always open with plenty of provisions and accommodations. For all the students, you can write at student.counselor@iu.edu.gm if you have any questions, need any advice, or need more tips when it comes to coping with your studies. Um, we are here to support this journey of yours, and we are here to make it as beneficial and as supportive and as balanced as we possibly can. So, that being said, let me just quickly summarize what we've discussed. So, a few tips that I suggested for all of you to try if you want to overcome your feelings of low motivation and procrastination is number one, look out for possible triggers, whether it's family issues or difficulty understanding the course content. Is it the environment that you're in? Whatever it is, you need to identify for yourself what is triggering you into low motivation. Number two is to be intentional and remind yourself of why you initially started this program in the first place, renewing your intention and coming back to it with a fresh mind. Third is that we reflect upon our commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we will keep trying no matter what happens, what comes across in our life. So we may fall back, but we pick up ourselves again and continue to strive in His path by gaining this knowledge. Four is to keep experimenting with change, maybe changing your desk, your setup, your study time, your days, or different courses, or different stationery material, or modes of study, whatever helps you in the process. Number five is staying calm. If you think your feelings of demotivation and procrastination have to do with stress, then practicing some stress management strategies like box breathing, taking out for your time for yourself, so that you can reduce the stress that you are experiencing. Next is to listen to your body, study at the right space at the right time, and be adaptable and open to change because life happens. Next, also engage in halal pleasures and indulge in some self care activities and revive some forgotten hobbies so that you may use the energy regained in that process back in your work and studies. So, lastly, if you need any help or assistance, just feel free to reach out, and inshallah, we'll be more than happy to support you on this journey. On this note, if any of you have any questions, do leave them in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer them as much as possible, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. With this, we wrap up our session. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. May Allah help you ace your studies with ease, and may Allah grant you the barakah and the help you need with your lives. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.